If you search Indeed.com for the CompTIA A+, you're gonna find over 11,000 results. And if you search LinkedIn, you're gonna find over 39,000 results. And that leads to the question, is the CompTIA A+ certification still relevant in 2022? And I think the results speak for themselves. 39,000 results on LinkedIn and over 11,000 on Indeed. That's a crazy amount of jobs looking for people with the CompTIA A+ certification. So if anybody ever tells you that the CompTIA A+ certification is worthless, just go check out on Indeed or LinkedIn and show them the results, because clearly organizations still see value in the A+ certification. So if you're not familiar with the A+ certification, I'll put links in the description for everything that we go over, but this page right here on the CompTIA website will have some good generalized information for you about it, but we're going to go a little bit more into detail on the IT career question side of things on how, I normally do things, which is different. So the first thing that I want to cover is the price of the certification. Now, when we talk about the A+, it's actually 2 different exams, and you actually have to pass and pay for each exam in order to become A+ certified. So each voucher costs $239 when you buy it from the CompTIA website. But there are 2 pro tips that I want to let you know about. If you sign up for CompTIA's Store Club, which is $49, you can actually take 20% off of the certifications. So you actually, in the long run, save a little bit of money doing it that way. You can also check the IT exam vouchers website. I've worked with this company in the past. They're not sponsoring this video now, but they do offer some type of discount on all of the certifications that you can find out there. So sometimes you can find a very good deal on the CompTIA A+ certification voucher by going to this website. So check that out also. Now, just to go over some other exam details, as we said, it is 2 exams. So they are called the A+ Core 1 and the A+ Core 2, or the 1001 and the 1002. No, it's a lot of information, but you can find all of this on their website. It was released in 2019 and it's valid for 3 years. So let me talk about the validity of the certification really quick so you understand. This specific version of the exam came out in 2019. And around 3 years from that time, they'll be putting out a new CompTIA A+ certification. Now, I don't have any information on that yet, but I'm sure that they will be announcing that soon if they haven't already, but that's not relevant to what we're talking about today. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because I know the question is going to be, if I go and purchase this exam in 2022, the day before it expires, is it going to expire the next day? No, it's not. It's still valid for 3 years. So if you take and pass this exam in 2022, it's still valid for another 3 years. So you're good to go. So you don't have to worry about recertifying for 3 years, which is great. As you can see, there's 90 questions per exam. They're mostly multiple choice. There are some drag and drops and then some performance-based, where you actually have to do a little bit more than drag and drop, although it's quite similar. It is a little bit more hands-on with their performance-based questions, though. It's really just applying your knowledge and completing steps. And you'll learn and understand more about this as you start going through some of the different training out there that exist that gets you prepared for the A+. For the first exam, you need a score of 675 to pass, and for the second exam, a score of 700. So that's just good to know, because when you start going through some of the training material that's out there, some of them do provide practice exams, and those are going to be extremely beneficial for you. On the CompTIA website, you can access the exam objectives. I'll put links to these in the description below, because there's a lot of useful information here that you need to go over as you're going through and trying to learn what you need to know to pass this exam. So we're going to go over this fairly quickly and just touch on some of the highlights of this. But as you can see, for the very first exam here, 14% of the questions that you can expect on the exam are going to cover mobile devices, 20% will cover networking, 27% will cover hardware, 12% will cover virtualization and cloud computing, and 27% will cover hardware and networking troubleshooting. So if we scroll down through this PDF, we can go through and see some of the information that they're sharing in regards to what you can expect to see on the exam. For the first part of this exam, in the first domain, as they call it, under mobile devices, it says, given a scenario, install and configure laptop hardware and components. So if we go through this list, we could see the hardware and device replacement for keyboards, hard drives, memory, etc. As we go through that list, we could see all the different components that exist for mobile devices like laptops. What they're looking for is, do you know where the memory is on a laptop? Do you know where the processor is? Could you take this laptop apart or replace these parts in a laptop? Do you understand how these components essentially interact with one another, and where are they located? The next part, 1.2, given a scenario, install components within the display of a laptop. So it talks about the different types of displays. It talks about Wi-Fi antennas and webcams, microphones. So can you install these components in a laptop? So would you be able to take it apart? Would you be able to put these components back into it if they were broken, damaged, etc.? Next part, given a scenario, use appropriate laptop features. So do you know how the function keys work on a laptop? Have you ever actually looked on a laptop where there's the FN key? There's so many jokes around the FN key. FN1, FN2, FN3, FN4, FN F1, FN F2. Like, there's so many different functions that you could utilize on the keyboard of a laptop. So this is covered in the exam. Do you know how to use them? Do you know what a docking station is? And do you know how to plug a laptop into a docking station? And then do you know how to plug in those peripheral components that exist? So can you plug in a mouse and a keyboard into the docking station and verify that it works on the laptop? That's some of the stuff that they're looking for. So as I'm explaining this and you're reading some of this, you can probably tell this is very fundamental based. Some of this might sound really easy to you. Some of this might be a little bit foreign to you. But as you go through the training, you're going to either learn more about these technologies, or you're just going to come away having that fundamental understanding of what these technologies do. As you go through this PDF from CompTIA, you can go through all of these different domains and you can have an understanding of what they're looking for on the exam. So going to the networking domain of the exam, you can see here, they're going to go over all the different ports and protocols that you need to know. So you actually need to study these. So as you go through and start learning these, you're going to know and memorize that, hey, port 21, that's FTP, and port 80, well, that's HTTP. And if somebody says, oh, it's on port 443, you're going to know that, hey, that's HTTPS. You're just going to know these things over time. These ports and protocols is actually very valuable information to know throughout your entire career. And I say this because if we go back to replacing the laptops and keyboards and knowing all of that information, that can be very helpful for you in the beginning part of your career, but you may not need to necessarily utilize all of those skills on a daily basis later on in your career. Having that information though, and these fundamentals is going to be very beneficial to your knowledge just in general in IT. So all of this information in sense sometimes can be very valuable. Sometimes you just need to know it for the exam, unfortunately, because you're going to see that it's like very outdated or just very basic, if you will. But in general, a lot of this exam contains extremely valuable information. And again, I can't stress enough how important the fundamentals of IT are, and the CompTIA A+ does a fantastic job of introducing you to the IT fundamentals. So I just want to quickly go through the rest of this because as you can see, it covers different types of hardware, different types of video cables, different types of connectors. It covers different types of RAM speed. We have install and configure storage devices. Give a scenario, install and configure motherboard, CPUs, and add-on cards. And this is more specific towards desktops. Explain the purposes and uses of various peripheral types. What's a printer? What does it do? What are VR headsets? What are speakers? What's a microphone do? How do these operate within a computer? Do drivers exist for some of these different peripherals, right? That's some of the information that you're going to need to know. And when we get to the training portion of this, every single training provider that I'm going to tell you about today covers the CompTIA A+ in phenomenal detail. They really do a great job of introducing you to all of these IT fundamentals. And by going through their training, you can actually pass their exam. So you don't actually have to sign up for CompTIA's training. It's not required. And to be honest with you, it's very overpriced. CompTIA is going to yell at me for this, I'm sure, but that's just the complete honest truth. You can study for the CompTIA A+ for free dollars or as little as like $30-something a month. And I strongly recommend both options, to be quite honest with you. So again, as you go through this PDF document, you're going to see that you're going to start learning about a lot of these different fundamentals as we keep stressing, because these fundamentals that this exam covers are extremely important to know. As we just went through virtualization and cloud computing, just understanding what this is, that it exists, that you can actually do this on your own by utilizing something like VirtualBox. And you can actually sign up for something like AWS or even Microsoft Azure for free and utilize those services to learn more about them. There's so much that you can do to really kind of complement the things that you're learning with the CompTIA A+ exam. So please keep that in mind. One of the greatest parts of this exam is that it does cover some basic hardware and network troubleshooting. So as you can see, it says, given a scenario, use the best practice methodology to resolve problems. These steps that they go through in the exam to teach you the methodology behind troubleshooting are phenomenal. This stuff is very valuable to you in your learning process. So make sure that you take very good detailed notes during this part of your learning process. as you're studying for your CompTIA A+. Here's kind of another great part about this PDF is they have the acronyms listed out here. There are so many different acronyms in IT. And what I think is really funny about the IT acronyms is that as you're going through and you're learning more about IT, or as you're getting years of experience, you're going to see that there are so many acronyms that have multiple meanings. So the context behind how the actual acronym is used is so extremely important to understand. So that's just kind of something, hey, pay attention to this, because what you might think like one acronym is could be really something different depending on how that conversation is going. Then at the end of this PDF, it says A+ proposed hardware and software list. So here's some of the recommendations on equipment that you could utilize to help you learn more. Please by no means take this list as, hey, I need to go out and buy everything here so that I can learn everything about it. That's really not necessary at all. Almost everything that you need to know is going to be taught to you through the videos that I'm going to link you to, through books that you can buy, and also through virtualizing all of these things. So please don't go out and spend a bunch of money. It's not necessary. So that covers the A+ Core 1, the 1001 part of the A+ exam. Going on to the A+ Core 2, you're going to find that it's very similar in the style that they deliver in this PDF. However, for Core 2, there's only 4 domains, and the first one is operating systems, which is 27% of the exam. The second part is security, which is 24%. Third part is software troubleshooting, which is 26%. And the fourth part is operational procedures, which is 23%. So not as many domains as the first part of the exam, but you'll see that this part of the exam is actually much more hands-on. And for me and many other people out there, this actual part of the CompTIA A+ is going to be the most exciting, because this is where you can really utilize virtualization to learn more about what they're going to be covering here. So as you can see with the first part, they're going to be covering operating systems. Well, guess what? You can virtualize every single operating system that they talk about here on the exam. So as you're going through your learning process, you can actually follow along with a lot of the things that people are doing. And you can even take your learning like 12 steps further by finding different tutorials out there that exist that teach you things like Active Directory, which is something that every IT person should know. Anyway, just like the first part of the exam, you can see some of the different parts that they cover here: 32-bit versus 64-bit operating systems, Microsoft, Linux, we have Android, we have iOS, we have compare and contrast features of the Microsoft Windows versions, right? Compare the different features between Windows 7 and Windows 10. Again, this is all very basic fundamental things, but some of the stuff you really need to know. And I would say that this second half of the exam, there's a lot more information on here that's really going to be applied to the practical real world. Given a scenario, use appropriate Microsoft command line tools. This right here, you will utilize these commands every single day you work in IT. I promise you, you will have a command prompt open for one thing or another. I would honestly love to spend all day going through this document right here and touching on each of these different subjects. But in reality, there's so much here that's just, in general, great to learn. You're going to find some of the stuff that's just like, oh my gosh, why are they teaching me that? That seems kind of weird. But in general, like I said, so much of this information is going to be valuable to anybody who is looking to get into IT. Now, you don't even have to go out and necessarily take the exam. Just learn the information that this exam covers, because that alone will be extremely valuable to you. But there's also value in having that certification, as we saw with how many jobs are listed looking for people with that certification. But anyway, moving on, as you can see, this exam also covers fundamentals of security. And as far as I'm concerned, everybody working in IT should have fundamentals of security. So this is great information to have as well. There's also software troubleshooting, which again, this is perfect because you can actually follow along with many of these things and learn how to do some of these different tasks that they talk about in this part of the exam. And you can get hands-on, just learning the task manager, right? Learning the event viewer. There's so much information here that it's covered that you'll have fun with it. I promise you that there are moments that you're going to be learning some of this information and you'll be like, wow, I'm actually kind of having fun following along and understanding more about this. So, and then the last part of this exam is operational procedures, which I think this is great too, because as you can see, network topology and diagrams, knowledge base and articles, incident documentation, regulatory and compliance policy, like they cover some fundamentals about what this is and how they exist in IT. Like, why does IT need to understand regulatory and compliance policy? Well, if you work in a bank, there's certain regulations that you have to follow in regards to data. Just the same, if you work in a hospital, there are other regulations that you have to follow in regards to patient data and things like that. So this is just, again, great fundamental information that you should be learning as you're getting into this field. Again, you don't by any means have to take the exam, but it will help you if you're trying to break into the field. But otherwise, this information here is extremely valuable for you. So make sure you check it out. And now let's talk about the resources, because you can actually learn for free everything that you need to know to pass the CompTIA A+ exam by visiting Professor Messer's YouTube channel. Now, to be completely honest with you, I love this guy. He helped me pass my CompTIA Security Plus certification for sure, just by listening to his material probably 3 or 4 times, all the way through. And I had to put it on 2 times speed because it is a little bit dry and it is a little bit slow. And that's no offense to Professor Messer, because he explains everything so extremely well. But personally, I find putting on 2 times speed for his content makes it much more enjoyable. Again, no offense to Professor Messer. I love you. Your content is amazing, but I guess I would just want a little bit quicker. And just to stress again, yes, you can actually pass the CompTIA A+ certification, or the CompTIA Network Plus certification, or the CompTIA Security Plus certification by watching Professor Messer's free content on YouTube. So make sure you check that out. The next resource that I want to cover is probably the most affordable and the best option for you when it comes to learning pretty much any IT related content that's out there, and that's IT Pro TV. I use them when I took my Security Plus also, and I cannot tell you how much I love their content. This definitely helped me pass the exam, because the first time around I took my Security Plus exam, I failed it. And the second time around, I used IT Pro TV's material with Professor Messer's material, and it made a huge difference. And I know that their CompTIA A+ material is right on par with Security Plus. So make sure you check them out. You can use the coupon code ITCQ30. You've seen it on the bottom of the screen now. That saves you 30% off of your subscription. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because you're going to want to sign up for their premium plan. And the reason why is because they give you access to virtual labs through Practice Labs. I'm actually wearing their hoodie today, ironically, but they are partnered with Practice Labs. So you get access to a virtual lab environment that has A+ material. So again, you can follow along. And IT Pro TV also uses an exam bank. So you can actually go through and take a practice exam for the CompTIA A+, which is phenomenal. So that $49, well, take 30% off of that, whatever that is. I suck at math. I should have done the math ahead of time, but I didn't. So I put it on the screen for you because I'm lazy. Another benefit is not only do you get access to the CompTIA A+ material, you get access to everything that they have listed here. They have a ridiculous amount of material, and I'm telling you, they actually pride themselves in calling themselves edutainment. They have some of the most entertaining material that I've ever seen, and it's very informative. And again, you can follow along, which is amazing. And you might laugh at some of their jokes, which is also pretty cool. So make sure you check that out. All right, so I basically answered the question whether the A+ is relevant. Yeah, it's still relevant. It's still used. In fact, the Department of Defense still requires their people to have the CompTIA A+ certification. So if, our government says, hey, we like the A+, it's probably pretty decent. And again, the fact that 30,000 jobs are looking for people with the CompTIA A+ certification, I don't know, that might say something. You tell me. I don't know. Somebody's going to have their negative comments below in regards to the CompTIA A+, but I'm sorry, the results speak for themselves. So you got your little education today on the CompTIA A+, what it is, what it covers, and what you should be doing to learn more about it. Is this going to be beneficial to you starting your IT career? Yes, it can. Is it a requirement? No, absolutely not. You do not have to have the certification in order to get into IT, but just know that there are a lot of jobs out there that do require it. So for less than about $500, you can get your A+ vouchers and study material for your A+, and you can go pass it, hopefully. It can be difficult for some people. Just make sure that you utilize practice material that's out there. There are plenty of free practice exams or very cheap practice exams out there that exist, but you're not going to have that much detail. Nothing is really going to give you 100% accuracy in what you could expect on the exam, and they have to do that for legal reasons, blah, blah, blah. But I would say that the material that you would get from IT Pro TV is going to be the best that you're going to get. So make sure you check them out. be sure to check out Professor Messer as well. This is no offense to the other training providers that are out there, because I know people are going to comment below and say, well, use this person and use that person and blah, 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 blah. Mike Myers for one, right? Like that person, like he just slipped my mind. But now I thought of him. Mike Myers, he's a great resource. I think you got to pay for some of his material, but I think some of it is for free also. So make sure you check that out as well. Links will be in the description. That's all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed this video. As always, take it easy.